this video we're going to talk about customary conversions and how we can use a few easy steps to make customary conversions. The customary system of measurement is the system that we use here in the United States. It's an older system of measurement and is not a base 10 system like it is in the metric system. And that's going to mean that our conversions are going to be a little bit harder and not straightforward like they are in the metric system. To do our conversions, we're going to have to convert based on relationships between individual units of numbers or measurements. We can relate this to different relationships we have in real life. As you can see, there might be a relationship between a mother or a daughter, or between a teacher and her students, or maybe between a boss and his employees. All of these show different types of relationships. In the same way, we can think about numbers as having relationships as well. There's something that binds two different sets of numbers together. And when we do customary conversions, we're going to look at those relationships or how the numbers relate one to another to make our conversions. Now let's talk about some of the conversion relationships we have both in volume and in length. Let's start on volume on the left-hand side. Our first one, we have 8 fluid ounces equals 1 cup. Again, this is a relationship between two numbers. One is the 8 fluid ounces, and that's equal to or the same as 1 cup. Next we have 2 cups equals 1 pint. Next we have 2 pints equals 1 quart. And finally, we have 4 quarts equals 1 gallon. These are all the volume relationships you'll need to remember. What I want you to do is write these down, memorize them, and turn the video back on. Pause the video now. For our second measurement, we're going to look at length. There are 4 relationships in length that I want you to remember and memorize as well. The first is inches to feet. So 12 inches is the same as 1 foot, or 3 feet is the same as 1 yard. Then we're going to go to yards and feet to miles. So our first one is 1,760 yards is the same as 1 mile, and 5,280 feet is the same as 1 mile. Write these down, memorize them, and then come back and turn the video on, and we'll go on from there. Pause the video now. All right. Hopefully you've been able to write these down and memorize them as you're going to be using them to do your customary conversions. Again, these are relationships that the numbers have one to another, and we need to know those relationships before we can do the conversion. One thing I want to point out is that if you memorize it exactly the way I've written it here, that you can easily find how many fluid ounces are in a pint, or how many cups are in a quart or a gallon, or how many pints are in a gallon. If you wanted to find out how many inches were in a mile, you could. The way you're going to do this is to multiply down the left-hand side. So if I wanted to know how many fluid ounces were in 1 pint, I would multiply 8 by 2, where it says 2 cups, and that would give me 16. In other words, my new relationship I could write down would be 16 fluid ounces equals 1 pint. Again, if I wanted to know how many fluid ounces were in 1 quart, I could multiply down the left-hand side. So I'd do 8 fluid ounces times 2 cups times 2 pints. That would equal 32. In other words, there would be 32 fluid ounces in 1 quart. Let's say I wanted to know how many cups are in a gallon. I'm going to multiply down the left-hand side. So I'd take 2 cups times 2 pints times 4 quarts. So 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 4 is 16. In other words, there are 16 cups in 1 gallon. By writing it down the way that I put it here, you can easily find any of those relationships that you need to find. Hopefully this helps as you start to work on your customary conversions. Let's look at the last system of measurement in the customary system, and that's weight. Weight's probably the easiest one because I'm only giving you 2 conversions to worry about. The first is 16 ounces equals 1 pound, and 2,000 pounds equals 1 ton. Again, if you wanted to multiply down the left-hand side to find out how many ounces are in a ton, you could take 16 times 2,000, and that would tell you how many ounces are in 1 ton. One thing I do want to point out here, you'll notice that we have 16 ounces equals a pound. In volume, we also have ounces. Normally we separate them by saying fluid ounces rather than simply ounces. So if you see something say ounces, think weight. If you see something say fluid ounces, think volume. Now let's go on and use our relationships that we've just learned. I want you to write the conversion relationships for weight down now on a piece of paper, memorize them, and then turn the video back on after you're done. Pause the video now. Alright, now that you're done memorizing all 3 conversion relationships between volume, length, and weight, now let's go on and I will teach you how we can make the conversions. So there's two different ways we're going to convert. One is if we are converting down from a larger known number to a smaller unknown number, we're going to multiply. So again, if we're going from a larger known number to a smaller unknown number, we're going to multiply. In other words, we could say we're going to multiply to go down. So let's look at an example. I have 3 gallons equals blank quarts. I need to know how many quarts are in 3 gallons. So my first step is to look at what I know, which I know 3 gallons, and I know that gallons is a larger measurement than quarts. So I'm going from a larger measurement down to a smaller measurement, which is unknown. So I know, though, because I'm going from a larger measurement to a smaller measurement, I need to multiply. So I'm going to take my 3 gallons, what I know, and I'm going to multiply it by something that's going to tell me the number of quarts that I have. So my second step is to look at my conversion relationship, or what I will say for simplicity's sake is conversions. So I'm going to look at my conversions, and I'm going to put the number from the conversion into my equation. So I see that my conversion relationship is 4 quarts equals 1 gallon. Now I will take always the number that is not a 1. If I take 1 from 1 gallon, 3 times 1 is the same thing as 3, and it does not help us. So I'm going to take 4 quarts. In other words, I'm going to take the number 4 and put it back into my equation. So now I have 3 gallons times 4 equals 12 quarts. In other words, there are 12 quarts in 3 gallons. One more time, what we did was we realized we were going from a larger measurement, 3 gallons, down to a smaller unknown measurement, quarts. That told me I needed to multiply. Then I'm going to take what I know, 3 gallons, multiply it by my relationship, which is 4 quarts. 3 times 4 again was 12 quarts. Now let's look what happens if we need to go from a smaller measurement to a larger measurement. If you are converting up from a smaller known number to a larger unknown number, you're going to divide. Again, if you're going up measurements from something smaller to something bigger, you're going to divide. So here's an example. If I have 15 feet, I want to know how many yards that is. I do know that 15 feet is a smaller measurement than yards. So I know I'm going from smaller to bigger, so I'm going to use division to solve this problem. My first step tells me to take what I already know, which is 15 feet, and as I said before, we're using division because we're going from a smaller measurement to a larger measurement. So I'm going to take 15 feet and divide it by whatever my relationship is. So the second step is to look at our conversion relationship and put the number back into the equation. In this case, my relationship is 3 feet equals 1 yard. Now I can take my 3 feet, again I'm never going to take the 1, I'm going to take the 3 and put it back into my equation, and I have 15 divided by 3, and that equals 5 yards. Again, to review, I knew I was going from feet to yards, which is a smaller measurement, to a larger measurement. So I took what I knew, 15 feet, and I'm going to divide by the relationship, which is 3 feet. So 15 divided by 3 equals 5 yards. Now let's look at a few more examples. On the left side, I'm going to use multiplication as I convert down. So I'm going to give you 2 examples as we convert from larger measurements down to smaller measurements. The first one is 3 tons equals some amount of pounds. So the first step is to look at my 3 tons and realize that tons is larger than pounds. So I need to convert down. That tells me I need to use multiplication. So I'm going to take what I know, 3t, in this case t stands for tons, so 3t multiplied by something. My relationship will give me my answer. Now the second step is to look at your relationship, which is 2,000 pounds equals 1 ton. I'm going to take my 2,000 from my relationship, put it back up into my equation, and I end up with 3 times 2,000 is equal to 6,000 pounds. Again, 3 tons is equal to 6,000 pounds. For my second example, I'm going to go from 0 and 5/10 or half a mile, and I want to know how many feet that is. So my first step is to look at my measurements. I know half a mile, and I know miles is bigger than feet, so I know I'm going from bigger to smaller, so I'm converting down in my measurements. So I'm going to use multiplication. So the first step, I'm going to take what I know, 0.5, and multiply it by whatever is going to be in my conversion. So my second step tells me that my conversion is 5,280 feet equals 1 mile. One more time, I'm not going to take the 1 because that won't help me, but I am going to take the 5,280 and multiply it by 0.5. If I do that, I get 2,640 feet. Again, I knew I was converting down because miles is bigger than feet, so I needed to use multiplication, so I took what I know, 0.5 miles, multiplied by my conversion, which is 5,280, and that gave me my answer. Now let's look on the right side. Here we're going to convert up. In other words, we're going to go from smaller measurements to larger measurements. My first example is 4 pints equals blank gallons. As I look at this, I want to notice pints and gallons. Pints, I know, I have 4 of those, but I don't know gallons. So this means I'm going from a smaller measurement, pints, up to a larger measurement, gallons, which I don't know. That tells me I need to use division. Remember, when we convert up, we need to divide. So my first step is to take what I know, 4 pints, and I'm going to divide it by whatever my relationship is. So my second step tells me that my relationship is 8 pints equals 1 gallon. So I can pick out the 8 and put it back into my equation. So now I have an equation of 4 pints divided by 8 equals 4/8 gallons. Or, if I simplify or reduce, it equals 1/2 gallon. Finally, let's look at 65 inches into how many feet. Well, one more time, I'm going to notice that inches is smaller than feet, and I know what my inches are, so that tells me I need to divide. So my first step is to take what I know, 65, and I'm going to divide that by whatever is in my relationship. My second step tells me in my relationship there's 12 inches in 1 foot. So I'm going to take the 12, put it back into my equation, and I have an equation of 65 divided by 12, which if I do that and turn it into a mixed number, that would equal 5 and 5/12 feet. One more time, I was going from inches to feet, which is smaller to bigger, so I'm converting up. That means I need to divide. I took 65 inches, I divided it by 12, and got 5 and 5/12 feet. Now I want you to try a few on your own. I want you to try 2 where you convert down. So on the left-hand side, you're going to go from 5 quarts down to pints, and then you're going to go from a half ton down to pounds. And then on the right-hand side, you're going to convert up. So you're going to go from 21 feet up to yards, and finally from 24 fluid ounces up to cups. Use the relationships for volume, length, and weight that you memorized and wrote down earlier in the video to help you solve these 4 problems. When you're done working on them, turn on the video and we'll go over it and see how you did. Pause the video now. Now that you're done working through your 4 problems, let's see how you did. First, we're going to work on the left-hand side where we converted down. We're going to go from 5 quarts down to pints. So I know that quarts is larger than pints, so I'm going to use multiplication. So I'm going to take what I know, 5 quarts, and multiply it by whatever's in my relationship. My relationship is 2 pints equals 1 quart, so I'm going to take the 2, substitute it into my equation, and I get 5 times 2 equals 10 pints. Again, 10 pints would be your answer. In my second example, I'm going from tons down to pounds. I know tons is larger than pounds, so I'm going to convert down, which means I need to use multiplication. So I'm going to take what I know 0.5 or 5/10 tons times whatever my relationship tells me. And I know that my relationship tells me it's 2,000 pounds equals 1 ton. So I'm going to take 2,000 pounds, put it into my relationship, and then I get 1,000 pounds. So again, a half a ton equals 1,000 pounds. On the right side, I'm going to convert up. I'm going to take 21 feet, and I want to know how many yards that is. So I know feet is smaller than yards, so I'm converting up, which means I need to use division to solve it. So my first step is I'm going to take what I know, 21 feet, and I'm going to divide by whatever's in my relationship. My relationship tells me that I have 3 feet equals 1 yard. So I'm going to put 3 into my equation, and I get 21 divided by 3. That equals 7 yards. Again, 7 yards is the same thing as 21 feet. Finally, I'm going to convert from 24 fluid ounces up to cups. I notice that fluid ounces is smaller than cups, so I'm going to take what I know, 24 fluid ounces, I'm going to use division, and I'm going to convert that by using my relationship. So I'm going to take 24 fluid ounces divided by whatever is in my relationship, which is 8 fluid ounces. So 24 divided by 8 equals 3 cups. Again, 24 fluid ounces is the same thing as 3 cups. 4 things I want you to remember from this video. First, the customary system is the measurements we use here in the United States, and it's a little bit more difficult because it's not a base 10 system like the metric system is. Because of that, we're going to use our number relationships between the different units to solve it. So second, I want you to memorize all your conversion relationships for volume, length, and weight, so that when you have to do a conversion, you can write the relationship out. And finally, if you're going to convert down from a larger measurement that you know to a smaller measurement that you don't know, you need to use multiplication. If you're going to convert up from a smaller measurement that you know to a bigger measurement that you don't know, you are going to use division, or you're going to divide. If you can remember these steps, it will really help you get the right answer on any customary conversion